are back with another HEF podcast. That is the podcast of the Home Education Foundation, which is an organization that was started by our founder, Brenda Dickinson, and her husband, Craig Dickinson, who passed away in the mid-90s, but not before securing home education liberties in the state of Florida in 1985. In 1985, home education parents in the state of Florida no longer had to register through an umbrella school or a private school or do something to kind of finagle a path. They had one carved out for them in statute. It is the statute 1002.41, and that is the home education program. And here we are almost 40 years later, enjoying the benefits of those rights and so much more as Brenda fought over the years for things like dual enrollment, participation, Bright Futures scholarships. She had a hand in putting some of the pieces together for the FESUA, what was called the Gardner Scholarship at the time, to put forward benefits for children with disabilities so that their parents can pull them and give them that special attention and education that they need in a customized learning environment. And the school choice wave has been big. It's a big Hawaii kind of wave. It's one of those 50-footers, and everyone's trying to jump on and ride it. And that's great. We love all the opportunities and the freedom in watching people take advantage of those and see what their freedoms can yield for them. But way deep down at the core of all of this is our focus on that fundamental right that every parent has to teach their own kids, to raise them in their own way, to set their own standards and their values. And we do not want that to be infringed upon. That is something that we protect fiercely at the Home Education Foundation. And that's one of the reasons why we have the podcast. We want to get the word out when things are needed for the community to come together and talk about or to support. And speaking of support, we want to say thank you to the parents in the free state of Florida who support the work that we do at the Home Education Foundation, particularly those who participated in our August fundraiser, where we had a donation match challenge. A home education family decided to offer a challenge to other families across the state that if we could raise a pledge or donations to the tune of $6,000, that they would, in fact, match that. And just toward the very end of the month, we made it. Thank you to all of those here. Let's give you a round of applause. Hear the crowd roar. We want to thank all of the parents in the free state of Florida for supporting us as they do. And we thank you for supporting your own kids in the way to love them and raise them and pour into them. I had an interesting conversation today, and apparently that's a rare thing. I already know that we're a small part of the population, but hey, I just figured everybody loves their kids. Anyway, we want to say thank you to our top sponsors, Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, TBHC Group. These are unique corporate sponsors that come in behind the scenes, and they help us find the funds that we need. And if you are someone who says, hey, I have a business, it is doing well, and I would like a tax write-off, and I would like to show some support for something I deeply believe in. If parental freedoms in education is something you deeply believe in, choose us. Reach out to us at info@flhef.org, and I can send you the packet of information that is needed for you to jump on board, and you can see yourself among our top sponsors, and we can continue doing the work that we do. All right. Without further ado, we have a special guest today, Michelle Brill. Welcome to the HEF podcast. How are you? Oh, wait. I got to get your mic on. I'm sorry. There we go. I almost forget something always, but there we go. Yeah.
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing better now that your mic is on.
Yeah.
We'll get all of the little kinks worked out. Michelle, you have been let's call him a veteran of the homeschool community for quite a while now.
Yes.
And I invited you on today to talk about your expo. You call it an expo. In other parts of the state, there's conferences or festivals or conventions. And
Mhm.
in your area of West Palm Beach, you call it an expo, and you put together quite the event. And we try to make it to it every year. And so I want to give you time to talk about your event because we love supporting those around the state. But also, tell me before we get there, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you and Brenda go back, and um, so there's got to be some history there. And I wish she were on today, but she has some personal emergencies that she was not able to get out of. So it's just you and me. But tell me a little bit about that history that you have with homeschooling.
Well, thank you so much. So my history goes, I guess, way back to being a kid and teaching Sunday school classes,
Okay.
having an interest to become a teacher. So I'm a
Mm,
Florida certified teacher.
all right.
And then my husband and I started our family, and a good friend, Anne Majeur, who is in South Florida here and has served with FPEA, was homeschooling her kids, and
Okay.
we lived on the same street back in the long time ago in the 70s.
Yeah.
So when I was living home with my parents,
Okay.
I had my first child in 1984.
Okay.
So I had, done some teaching over the years. I've taught in preschools, private schools, Christian schools, public schools, online. Those
Okay.
are all things I can think of off the top of my head,
That's
but
great.
several. So I love education. I've always loved education.
Yeah.
My husband and I talked. We had, through Anne and other friends, had heard about homeschooling. So we began homeschooling then.
Okay.
So at that time, go
Did
ahead.
you start? Well, did you start right away homeschooling, or did you try? Did you send your kids to public school first? What was that like for you?
Okay, so no, we did participate. I taught at a preschool for
Mm.
just a year or two, kind of as the introduction for us all to get out of the house and do something different a couple days a week. So
Yeah.
we were Good Shepherd United Methodist Church's preschool in West Palm Beach, which happens to be the home of the expo this year.
Hey,
So
all right.
very exciting, kind of full circle there.
Yeah, that's great.
Um, yeah. So my daughter did participate, and my other two kids in a preschool setting a couple days a week at a church, based preschool. And
Okay.
then we began at kindergarten. So
Okay.
5 in a row and FPEA conference, all these supports made such a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there anything in particular that drove you toward that decision to homeschool?
Um, I think family unity, staying together as a unit, rather than having one of the kids not a part of things. I have three kids altogether.
Okay.
Um, Loved the Christian school, graduated from the Christian school in our area. Pricey,
Mm,
definitely a pricey move to go over to the Christian school. So kind of weighing that out. Definitely the calling that God has called us to raise our children,
mm,
and trying to find that balance, being
sure.
in education and a parent. So those were probably the things that ring out.
That's fantastic. Leanne Warner says, "Hi, Michelle." She's in the comments.
Oh,
She says hi.
hi, Leanne. She's an
Yeah.
that's
What's
for
that?
sure. She has been an inspiration.
Oh,
That's
good.
great.
That's good. There's as you were talking, I was thinking about how interesting it is that if you strip it all down and you just kind of look at basic life, we're constantly building structures. We're constantly building better ways to this and more efficient ways to that. And oh, here's the best practices for oh, you really want to be able to do this. Here's how you do that. And there's so many machinations that we come up with. I think what is it? Ecclesiastes says, "Of making many books, there is no end." There's nothing new under the sun, certainly, but
Amen.
there's a. It's interesting that we have settled somehow on this idea that all of these different systems are what's best. And it's I'm always curious what drives people to like recapture those moments with their kids. I remember seeing some of the Facebook posts that my wife has showed me where, some of the moms are her friends are kind of lamenting the fact that they have to drop their kids off at their first day of school. They're like, this is so hard, but I guess this is just being a mom. Oh, And I laugh a little because I'm like, why are you having to drop them off? Why don't you go enjoy them and teach them? Like, you can. Like, by the way, they're your kid. They're your kids. They don't
Yeah.
belong to the school or to the county or to the
Mhm.
state. They're your
Mhm.
kids,
Yeah.
and you don't have to drop them off if you don't want to. I think public education initiatives are a great idea. There's nothing like flawed about the initial concept of people kind of coming together as a community to help each other out. And hey, let's teach. In fact, in the homeschool community, we do that. We call them co-ops, which is
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not full drop-off systems to put your kids in,
Mhm.
but it's one of those things where it's nice to see and listen to parents who are from that first kind of, especially in Florida, that 1985 ilk, where you guys had it spelled out for you that you could register with the county and do it yourself, and kind of get from you what that was like. I know what it was like for me and my family. Um, I didn't start homeschooling in the 80s because I started in around the 90s, mid to late 90s, and I had convinced my mom that it was what was best for us. And maybe I think my motives were selfish because there was a cute girl at church and I wanted to like have something in common with her. So I was begging my mom to let me homeschool. Um, but looking back on it, it was an answer, and it's not for that reason, but it was an answer. It was something that God ended up using to show me something else, and here I am today because of that.
Oh, wow.
In the position that I'm in, and I fully believe in home education. I believe in parents being the parents and educating their own kids, as no one loves
Mhm.
your kids more than you do. you
No.
know, and all the freedoms that go along with that. It's a duty and it's a
Yeah.
responsibility. It's not just all fluff and, marshmallows and clouds. There's a lot of hard sacrifices, and I remember watching my mom make them, and there were subjects that she struggled to teach me. And we had little events that we went to. Um and they were kind of sort of helpful, but I don't know. I feel like Florida has with your expo and the TBHC conference and FPEA and the festivals, and I feel like Florida has a much more rich and robust home education community that um, really just kind of comes together and
Yeah.
shares a lot of that, um, a lot of those ways. You have a sharing thing at your event that I want to get to because we mentioned it last week on the podcast. But your blessings table, I want you to talk about that when we get to it eventually. But I kind of wanted to hear people. I wanted people to hear about you and kind of know who you were before we kind of dove into any of that. You're a certified teacher and you have done evaluations for how many years?
27.
Yeah, wow,
A long time.
that's great. That's great.
It is great.
And as far as like some of the trends that you're seeing, some of the differences, are there you've seen a lot when it comes to evaluations. Like what is there anything that stands out to you?
As far as what's happening currently,
Yes.
yeah, I think, we are definitely seeing the biggest change we have seen, um, probably in my 27 years
Mm.
with the PEP money and scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
Yeah.
the co-ops and the working together and, kind of organizing together has reduced, and more
Yeah.
of the fee-based groups and classes and tutoring has definitely increased. So that's a huge change.
Yeah, there's been a bit more of a consumer kind of shift, not
Yeah.
just a school choice shift. It's like
Mhm.
somebody drops off other people's money, I think is what they call it,
Yeah.
OPM, other people's money, and people kind of spin that differently than they would, their own judicious choices. And let's
Hmm.
get together and pool resources to do this. And I do think we're seeing less of that pooling resources and that co-op mindset, and being replaced with that kind of packaged or prepackaged. Well, let me just go buy this thing, try it out, and if it doesn't work, I'll go buy another thing. Um, and I do think that that is probably, in my opinion, one of the biggest sacrifices. Like one of the biggest things to have lost is that, because that's that grassroots thing, right? That's
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
coming together, arm in arm, hand in
Hmm.
hand, and can you watch my kids for a minute? I've got to go run to
Hmm.
grandma. Something happened, and then I've got to, and you have
Yeah.
that strong sense of community
Yeah.
that is kind of getting replaced with, like, well, the same way we don't all farm our food anymore either.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah. Totally.
yeah, we just buy it off shelves
Yeah.
and bring it home.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
think
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think here in South Florida, I've seen, there's a group, and now the group is pretty organized and outspoken and apprehensive about doing anything with federal money.
Hmm.
But there was a percentage, maybe of the people I know, maybe 30% who stayed with the classic homeschool model and did not participate in PEP.
Yeah.
And they, for the most part, maybe a few of them have wandered into PEP.
Hmm.
They figured they'd let somebody else test the water.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and then there are some that are very apprehensive and are speaking up and paying attention.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we kind of saw the state money movement over the decades in the
Hmm.
Christian school communities.
Right.
So, it's definitely potential for division or steering opportunities.
Sure. Certainly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that anytime you throw money into the mix, you now have a carrot that the horse can follow.
Yeah.
And the goal is, it's challenging because home education is about self-governance, kind of like what our
Hmm.
forefathers, talked
Hmm.
about, our founding fathers talked about, like the right to govern ourselves.
Yeah.
And on an individual basis, I believe in that right. I also believe in that right on a structural basis, a collective basis, which is why we have representative forms of government, so we can choose for ourselves who will represent us and help make those decisions. But there's to lean into that, it would be nice if people could be trusted with the money.
Mm. Yeah.
Like, oh, wait, here's a boon. We were giving it to the public school. Like, now you can have that boon and do that. Let's see what you can do with it. And I think that it's not always so much that, like, hey, let's nefariously give them
Mm.
money so we can lead them around by the nose. And I know some people would say that
Yeah.
that's the why. I really don't think that's the nefarious end of it. I do think that that's going to potentially become, one of those sticking points,
Hmm.
because there are so much fraud. There are so many things that people are doing that are outside of the scope. Sure, they're already against the rules and they know they're breaking the rules and they're getting
Sure.
in trouble. But when you've got money flying out the door for that you've raised from all these big corporate tax donors, and you're responsible to them
Hmm.
for what goes on in the program, you're going to start shutting off the valve of certain things, because you're going, wow, this loophole they're able to abuse, close the loophole. And as we start to see things like that happen, and legitimately there's some sort of accountability that needs to happen, but
Hmm.
also the freedom needs to be fought for.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at. We're inside the program, watching it from inside, participating.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and my wife and I are very comfortable leaving PEP the very moment that it becomes something that is absolutely uh,
Sure.
not no longer
Yeah.
in favor of parents.
Yeah.
Uh, but as of right now, I think it's in a great position, and it's very loose. They haven't yet pulled down any of the big deal. They might come, and all the naysayers are prophetic
Hmm.
in their own way, you know, are
Yeah.
might end up being right. But there is just a lot of people who are using it honestly, and we need them to speak up.
Yeah.
Because here's what happens: we hear, I hear about there's staff from the Senate and staff from the House that people don't know, and they're on Facebook too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all human. They're all human as well, right? And they
Yes.
have Facebook accounts. And so when you're in these Facebook accounts and you're posting, "Hey, can I use the scholarship to get this
Hmm.
$500 blender?" It's like, because we're doing a food project. I'm like, eyebrows are going up, man. I'm telling you, like, they're gonna look at you and they're scratching heads. When a $30 blender from Walmart is also reimbursable, it's like, what are we doing? And that's a judicious. That's just a matter of judgment. That's not
Hmm.
unscrupulous or fraudulent.
Hmm.
But when
Yeah.
you see some that are,
Yeah.
um, and then we get some bigger word of larger places where someone has defrauded parents of the funds and then they can't get recovered. And there
Yeah.
are legitimate
Sure.
things that they're trying to protect the parents in the program from
Hmm.
predators, predatory fraudsters. But then also there are just some things that everybody's got an opinion. I don't think parents should be able to spend this, and I don't think this should be that. So we try to get into that mix and fight for the parents' rights to
Sure.
exercise poor judgment and to learn from mistakes. But man, oh man, we do have to self-govern. We do
Absolutely.
have to self-govern, and I believe that fully. But yeah, you should know if
Um,
you're on these Facebook groups
yeah.
that you're not in there with your friends, by the way. Unless
Yeah.
they're only people in the group are your close friends, you are not in there with your friends. You are in there with everybody else from the Senate staff and the House
Yeah.
staff and
Yeah.
somebody from the DOE who has a Facebook account,
Yeah.
and they're watching everything you post and do. And you need to know that. Sorry, I've been talking a lot and you had your hand up.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I just want to interject there. I wrote a little note
Please.
so I remember. But if you think of the waste in the public school system,
Yes.
I mean, I taught for 18 years, and there are closets and closets
Oh
full of
man.
books and materials, and
Oh man.
there's we're dealing with humans.
Yep.
There's going to be greed. There's going to be
Yep.
waste. There's going to be
Yep.
differences of opinion. Um,
Yep.
the one thing I see as an evaluator, that the PEP is not at this time is not accepting evaluations as verification
Right.
of progress, yet the state is.
Right.
So for some people who maybe hated testing or,
Mm-hmm.
don't, the part of testing also is, I think some can feel apprehensive
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to look at my last year's tests and you're going to compare them to my this year's test, and then you're going to want to draw a line or want
Mm-hmm.
me to do something different.
Yeah.
So that's probably is the first one of the first steps of change.
It could be potentially. I know that there is interest among some of the members in our legislature to get evaluations put into
Yeah.
the PEP
Yeah.
program as an option. The challenge
Hmm.
with that is the portfolio. There's no requirement to keep a portfolio, so they'd have to also change that. And then
Yeah.
would parents go, "Oh my goodness, this is more restriction. We weren't required to keep a portfolio, and now we are. I thought this was gonna, I
Yeah.
get all kinds of I get all kinds of people who are like, I wouldn't think they would balk at something, and they are just upset that something is
Yeah.
now required of them that is already in statute and
Yeah.
has been. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, just because you just found out about it doesn't mean anyway. Uh, so there is interest in opening that up, but
Yeah.
I think this preliminary phase of the first 5 years where they're trying to
Hmm.
score the program itself, I don't think we're going to see it before that. So, which is, I think, coming up in the next year or two, we're coming up on that. So I don't think we'll see it before that because they're trying to get a handle on the program itself. And
Yeah.
honestly, their primary focus right now is with all the spotlight on other states
Mm.
and fraud in spending that has hit
Yeah.
other states. They're trying to make sure that Florida doesn't become that. It doesn't get that, and we aren't creating avenues for that. So their primary focus right now is, what in the world is going on with the money?
Yeah.
Are people using this to lifestyle upgrade, or are they using it to educate? And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
their big, like, tip of the spear, to be honest with you. And
Yeah.
as a community, though, and this is what I hold near and dear to my heart about the home education community. Historically, we have always been self-governors. We
Mm,
have always been those who will help each other out rather than just go buy this or buy that. We'll bend over backwards for each other. We'll pool
yeah.
resources. We'll collect with each other. And we have to also do that in terms of taking responsibility within the scholarship program. These Facebook groups, being vocal. As a parent, if you are sitting quietly while other people unscrupulously talk about what they're spending it on, you have Jason Crawford's permission to be vocal. Not that you ever needed it, because you don't. You govern yourself. But by
Yeah.
all means, like, being a resonant voice of the judicious, self-governing, not
Hmm.
greedy, like, trying to do the right thing by our kids, people, we've got to hear more. I think people take for granted that um they're minding their own business, doing it well, and doing their own thing. And I think they take for granted that that isn't those aren't the things that get reported up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, when there's a problem, the problem gets reported up. All the people
Hmm.
doing well don't get reported up because they're not the thing that needs
Amen.
attention,
Amen.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then it becomes
Totally.
that fallacy, like, doctors see sick people, is the whole world sick,
Mm,
the fallacy becomes, this program is rampant with fraud. Rampant is just full because that's all we're hearing about. And it's like, okay, we need to do well
mm,
to tell some stories about how
yeah.
home education families
Absolutely.
are using this
Yeah.
money well, great, and they're seeing benefits. And so I'm going to plug our website, flhef.org/tell your story.
Good.
We've got a page on there. We've had it up for about a year because I've been on this. I saw this coming before it was a big problem, but I've been on this for a while, and we need parents who are willing to look. You don't have to go start your Facebook. You don't have to be an influencer. You don't have to do all that.
Yeah.
You can just make a little video, send it to us, and give us permission to use it so that we can display all of these families and their good, wise
Hmm.
choices and the way their kids are benefiting. And I've got a little formula on that page that tells parents, if you don't have any ideas of what you want to put in yours, it'll prompt you and give you some starting points so you can take it and run with it and do your own thing and then upload it so that we can put it out there. Getting more of that information out is so important. It's so
Yeah.
important because those tight knit communities, the ones like what you're focused on and building, and your blessings table, that's the
Hmm.
heart. That's the heart
Hmm.
of homeschooling.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is the heart of homeschooling, and we can't let that fall to the wayside.
Yeah.
That has to still be the way. So
Yeah.
you want to say something? I think.
Oh, well, the thought, so many thoughts pop in and out
Yeah.
there. Um, and I do think that different learning styles for kids, different supports for moms. There's so many different individual needs.
Yes.
And really, that is one of the exciting things I see with the PEP scholarship.
Yes.
Um, and sometimes people enjoy the co-op when their kids are a certain age,
Hmm.
but now they're needing to move to some, tutoring or
Yeah.
specialized classes. And, you know, the blessings I have seen, the people who are participating and building food forests,
Hmm.
like Jen Relitz has taught us so much about in South Florida. And this is blessing their community. This is a tree can last for
Hmm.
50 years
Yep.
yielding fruit. There's more than one child in that family. So it's,
Yep.
and potentially grandchildren. I mean, it is a neat opportunity to really build wisdom and strength.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
it is a great opportunity. And
yeah.
you were You were making me think of something. It kind of escaped me, but oh, it was right on the tip of my tongue, and I was like, "Oh, that's such a great point you made," and I wanted to kind of open it back up, but now I'm struggling to retrieve it. Anyway,
I have
uh, uh,
another thing there.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, so over the years now, of course, it's increased as time has gone on, but there are quite a few kids that are professional athletes or musicians, artists, that school never worked for them because they can't do a 9 to 3, 8 to 3 kind of schedule, 8 to 2, because of their training. So here, these kids that are specialized and gifted now have an opportunity to be blessing their talents. It's not just money for math and science.
Right, right.
It is really honing in. So
Hmm.
it's amazing. So
It truly is, and I think that that is one of the key things that is beautiful about the scholarship, and that was one of the first battles that we fought when it launched. PEP was in its first year, and Josie Tomko, Representative Josie Tomko, ran a bill that would gut all of the electives equipment out, and it would reduce equipment purchases down to the 4 core subjects. So it would have only been, math, science, I think history and reading. And I thought, well, what kind of equipment do you even need for those? By all means, having equipment in there is for the electives essentially. Like what equipment do you need for history? I mean, anyway, it was some of the argumentation was, I remember some of them saying like, well, if you want to get horseback riding lessons, you can, but like you can't buy the
mhm.
horse, which you already can't. In the purchasing guide, there's guidelines. You
Yeah,
already can't buy a horse,
yeah,
and somebody else made the comment off of that committee meeting that, well, what about when they go to take driver's ed? Are they going to try to justify buying a car so that they can take driver's ed? Where does this stop? And I'm like, that's also already not
yeah,
allowed.
yeah, yeah,
So what are
yeah.
we trying to fix? We're a pitching a solution in search of a problem. That problem
Hmm.
that problem didn't exist. But I look now, and Josie Tomko ran for the special election seat for the Senate seat in her area, and she lost. And I have to think that there in some ways, Hillsborough County is I think the largest county in the country with a homeschool population community.
Wow.
And I have to think that there is, at least in some way,
Mm,
that heated issue is some way responsible, um,
absolutely.
even if it's not the one anyone's talking about in the media, because people don't like you know having that system jammed down on them. We need the freedom and the flexibility,
Hmm.
but we have to govern ourselves too. So
Yeah,
if we want to keep those freedoms, so anyway, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but
yeah.
you speak. Go ahead.
Well, so the other thought in all of this too is there's a high percentage of people who are homeschooling because of their faith.
Sure.
So in that, it is not just answering to the state for this money. It is, you are under God's sovereignty. So, obviously people aren't perfect, and we know that.
Yeah. Amen.
Read scripture, we all fall and make
Yep.
mistakes, but there is that piece.
Yeah.
And to your
That's a
point,
great point.
yeah, to your point also, these are people who are voting. These are people
Mhm.
who are participating. They are doing their civic duty. And, obviously the whole structure of the church, the coming together and the importance of coming together is where so much of this is shared and taught. So it's an impact on the community in a huge way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think I think that there is this. We had Benjamin Franklin on last week.
Yes, great.
That was great. And he was. I love that guy. He's
It's
such a good
good.
period actor because he knows he spent so much time studying Benjamin Franklin's life. He didn't
Mm,
even introduce himself on our podcast as himself. He was just Ben Franklin the whole time. So I, he's just Ben Franklin to me. He was sharing the bit, the piece from Benjamin Franklin when he looked and saw George Washington sitting in the chair, and the chair had a sun on it, and he asked himself, "Is this a rising sun? Is it a setting sun?"
mhm.
And that resonates with me a lot
Yeah.
because I see the scholarship, and I hear about the fraud, and I'm like, "Oh crap,
Mm,
here we go." And then I have to remember people like that have always been there, and they're always doing something.
and it's a little bit of money. That's
Yeah,
nothing.
and
That's
it's
nothing.
like, are we rising with BEP or are we
Mhm.
falling with BEP? And I see
Yep.
some
Right.
positives, some massive, massive positives.
Me
I've
too.
personally seen some positives in my life. We have
Yeah.
been able to get things for education, props
Yep.
and this and stuff, and
Mhm.
equipment. I work out with the kids every day, and I've watched over the last year, just the last year, I've watched their lives transform
Great.
because we have certain equipment that they can get up and work out on in the
Yeah.
yard. And
Good.
they do it rain, they do it freezing. I mean, it was 30 below 30 and they're out there with their frosty fingers, and they're being
Great.
diligent and disciplined. And then they take that diligence and discipline and they aim it at their academic studies.
Sure.
And I've watched my kids soar because we were able to start saying yes to things that we have always had to say no to because we were
Sure.
just one of those families
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
paid the bills and never had
Mhm.
anything more to show.
Yeah.
Just we lived and paid the bills and we had each other. And that is enough, by the way. That
Amen.
is that is enough. That is the gift God gives. That is enough.
That's for
But
sure.
it has been nice to
Yeah.
be able to say yes and to watch my kids not just survive but to flourish
Yeah. Yeah.
under certain opportunities. And yeah, I'm going to fight for that. I'm going to
Yeah.
fight for the freedom. I'm going to fight for it to stay open. And if you're
Mhm.
a parent out there and you're worried about PEP, I make no guarantees that I can keep it free, but I
Sure.
will I will fight tooth and nail to make sure we can try. And the
That's great.
more voices that we have in our community who follow our podcast, who get in our Discord, who when we raise an issue are there so that we can call them and say, "Hey, it's time to act. This is bad. Let's go get on this." Or
Yeah.
whenever you're choosing who to vote for, it is not about blue or red. It's not about
No.
Republican or Democrat. You need to know
No.
their position on parental rights. You need to
Yeah.
know where they stand on your personal
Yeah.
freedoms, period. And
Oh,
that should become the tip of the spear for all of your voting decisions. Other
yeah.
things are important too, but your personal
Yeah.
freedoms to be
Mhm.
left alone with your own kids, that's quintessential. That's
Yeah.
up there. That's way,
Yeah.
way up there. So I'd be
Amen.
asking tough questions like those. And our Discord community our server has a community for every county. So
Great.
people who want to coordinate in West Palm Beach or
Yeah.
Hillsborough,
Great.
Duval. I just had a question today. Someone from the Capitol actually reached out to me, and they have a child. Their daughter has a child with special needs, and they're looking for someone in Duval. And I'm like, well, we have the way to put the
Yeah.
connections out to our community because we have those
Mhm.
connectivities. So I'll ask and see what kind of programs are co-ops or homeschool programs or homeschool adjacent programs are out there for you.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that be able to happen, but we need the community to stay united and together.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
whatever we think about the scholarship, pro or nay,
Yeah. Yes. We're
we
still,
believe
yeah.
in parental rights
Yeah.
everywhere, all the place. I believe in parental
Absolutely.
rights in public school, by the way.
Amen.
Like,
Amen.
yeah, like they should be asking. I think Senator Grawl is onto something right now. She is very, very fiercely fighting for what are called opt-in measures.
Mm.
So essentially, in the way that many of the things are done in public school, is the school can choose to do something, and they just take that choice and make that direction. They notify the parent, and the parent can opt out if they want to. And
No.
so what she's trying to do is make it so that the school has to basically get the parent to opt in first, or they can't do it. And
Good.
that touches everything from
Mhm.
medical, personal, mental health,
Yep. Yeah.
educational. And yeah, I love her for that. She is
That's
doing an
great.
amazing, yeah. She is one of the biggest parental rights champions in the
Um,
entire legislative body. She
and what?
is
Say her name again.
Senator Grohl,
Cool.
Grall. We had her on our podcast actually
Good.
the right after we won the issue with the PEP. She came on and did a deep dive into the social media bill where they were shifting some things around
Good.
to, not let minors under 14, be able to be exposed to these predatory um, contracts with social media companies. So it was
Yeah.
really interesting stuff. But she's great. She's fantastic. And finding candidates like that, you
Yeah.
know, in your area, if you find one and you
Hmm.
know one,
Yeah.
help us come into our Discord and talk about who that candidate is and what they stand for and those types of things, so that we, parents can know when they're
Hmm.
going to vote, like who those people are. Because a lot of times you just see red and you assume, oh, they're conservative, and you see blue and you assume, oh, they're liberal. But in Alachua County, at the Alachua County School Board is predominantly blue, by the way. But one of the
Most
members,
most school boards are.
yeah, one of the members was very, very outspoken against homeschoolers. And she basically said, well, we won't do anything to help them because they chose not to come to us until the state makes us do something. And the other gentleman was like, no, we need to read the landscape. We need to start putting programs together
Mhm.
and like
I
making a
know.
pathway for this.
Yeah.
And she was eventually removed from her seat, and he took it over. And so you're starting to see those minded toward parental rights and toward
Hmm.
those be put in positions, and that's more important than the color of the jersey of the
Yeah.
team. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes, we have
um,
a great political group that meets here once a month in South Florida
oh,
when we impact the nation, and that's with Sue Trombino, which is awesome.
okay,
Gives us a monthly meeting to talk with candidates and talk about issues, and it's great. Hopefully, each community can have something like that.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. Good shouting her out. Let's shout you out. It's time.
Oh,
I want to talk about the West Palm Beach Homeschool Expo. Excuse me,
yeah.
Homeschool Expo. Um, I since the first time I came, which was just a couple of years ago. You've always had us on as a speaker to share legislative updates, so we're
Yes,
always
thank you.
excited. You're very welcome. I love you had this one little room set off with like a glass wall, and there was a big couple of tables in there, and there's just stuff all over the tables. Tell me about that.
Yes, so it has been a tradition over the years, and I have to plug Leanne Wicklander because she also is part of this growing, moving expo development here in
Great,
Palm Beach County, as well
awesome.
as Ann Major. She also, and we have so many. We've got a great
She's in our
board.
comments, by the way. I saw her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was chiming in there on something.
yeah,
It's hard to look this way and check that way.
it's all right.
Uh, but yeah, I'm not even sure who began it, but
Mm-hmm.
the idea is to, bring books from your house or textbooks you used to use and,
Mm.
set them on the table. We encourage them to bring a small box so that they are all blessed to leave the event as well. And you
Yeah,
know what?
yeah,
Here provided somebody has cleared it all away. But
good.
we have homeschool families that aren't using the books anymore, or their kids have read these books, and I even have educators in Palm Beach County who contribute books that the school
Awesome.
board isn't using anymore, or things like that.
That's
So
excellent. That
our
is
group
excellent.
our group PEC has also done a used book sale event for people to come and swap. And
That's
the
good.
neatest part about that is that you're getting a one-on-one testimonial with how this program did or didn't work for the family, which is very valuable in this
Yeah.
process.
Yes. Yes, it is actually.
Yeah.
And you said PEC, and for those who are listening who might not know what that is, would you state what that is?
Yes, so that stands for Parents Educating Children, and it's a homeschool support group that has been here in Palm Beach County. I should know the length of
A
time.
while.
I want to say 41 years, so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
close. I'm
Yeah.
close, if nothing else. So they
Yeah.
have a website with great resources. One of the founders, Jeannie Hochstetler, is going to be placing a video there, we hope in the next month or so. Um, the difficult part with people who have glided into homeschool right now in the 2025,
Hmm.
2023, so many people like Brenda Dickinson who have labored to
Hmm.
create this. We need to know our history so
Yes.
that we can continue to be blessed to have this option. And all you're doing, thank you so much,
Yes, ma'am.
for HEF and what it plays in this.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's one of the reasons why we try to make all the rounds to the different conventions and conferences and expos
yeah,
and festivals, because I'm constantly getting calls. Oh, I didn't know about you guys, but somebody said I should call you. And, they have an issue and the county told them this, and or this college told them that they needed the wrong paperwork. And I'm like, okay, well, here's what the law says. And,
yeah,
you know, they can ask you for whatever they can ask you, but you're not required to have those documents. And we'll break down a lot of those, and
hmm
we'll advocate for them and go alongside them. And people just don't know that we don't charge
yeah,
for our services.
yeah,
It's done the same way homeschooling has been done, where like this is the work that was needed. We roll up our sleeves and we do the work, which
no,
is
thank you.
also why we ask for support, because we don't
Amen.
charge for any of our services. It's not a mercenary outfit. We're not a
Yeah,
mercenary for hire. There's just work
and
that needs to be done, and somebody's got to do it.
yeah, and all these families are being blessed.
Yeah.
Imagine the expenses they would experience in heartache and stress and financial
Oh
without the
yeah.
support they're giving. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. I see a lot of that. Doug Williams is there. You all are the clearinghouse for all the BS that's been fed to us by the public system. Oh, Doug, I love you.
so
Yeah.
nice. So our wonderful
Yes.
expo is
Yes.
scheduled to have 16 different speaking sessions, and Jason is doing 2 of them. We're excited
Yay.
about that. And we currently have 80 vendors
Oof.
on the list. We've moved to a different location.
That's right.
Now that large churches don't have pews anymore, their sanctuary space is a little more flexible.
Interesting.
So we will be on one floor, hopefully with a little better AC and acoustics.
Yay.
We've got a food truck or 2 coming to
Awesome.
supply, because we will miss some of the blessings we had at
Yeah.
Palm Beach Atlantic University,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Also trying to get central in the county. So,
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's say that there's someone who's discovering you and they haven't been to one of your events before. What would you tell them to expect, or who is it for? Like, if you're in this, like, come find
um,
help, or.
yeah, I don't have our amazing data handy.
Hmm.
I'll prepare next time we talk. But we found that almost 60% of the people who have come are new or checking out homeschooling.
Wow. Good.
So Autumn Frisbee has done so much. She does the
She's
whole Venn
great.
side, thank God. And she's created these great Google
Yep.
Docs. So people link in there, let us know you're coming, then you'll get all the information. It's very much like the big event in Orlando. You really would, it's a blessing to read up before you come.
Hmm.
Read the speaker sessions. You're going to have 4 to choose from each hour. Look at the vendor information, the things, know what you're needing. Cindy Marler is coming, doing an excellent talk on organization. So much of this is getting used to these changes for you and your kids and your family. So do your
That's great.
homework. Check us out on Facebook. We
Yes.
also have a website page. Parents Educating Children's website has a special section there on the expo.
Yeah, and if
So,
you're looking for her on Facebook, if you're looking for this
yes.
on Facebook, it will be at facebook.com/Palm Beach County Homeschool Expo. It's long, but the Instagram is not quite as long. So the Instagram to find them and follow is at PBC Homeschool Expo. So, yeah, if you're looking for any of that information, you want to follow along or you want to get connected and come visit, like those are your links to go check it out. Michelle, thank you for being with us today.
Thank
Is there
you.
anything else that, I failed to ask you that you want to talk about for your event? Do you have a
Wow.
favorite speaker? And you don't have to say me. Yeah.
Oh, I should give a shout out to Rick Andreessen and
Yes.
Saints of Florida. He always
Yes.
has an encouraging talk and has a table. And,
He's amazing.
for me personally, that couple-hour break with my very energetic sons was a lifesaver. I
Mm-hmm.
could sit there and watch all the fun happening, or I could, head to a
Yeah.
store nearby and sort things out in the brain.
Yep.
But so many of these people have blessed our lives, and what a blessing. We also have Sue Pooch Farron from He
Yes.
in South Florida, and she's amazing. She'll be
She
doing
is.
2 talks as well.
Okay.
And it's fun to see some of our Expo people and Orlando people, speaking. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the needs are the same.
Yep.
We
Absolutely.
have the same needs. So
Yeah, I would love to echo your shout out to Coach Rick because I adore that man. He for me, I think I always try to find him before we get inside because if you run into him in the parking lot or anywhere else, that man is always on an 11. From
yeah.
1 to 10, he's on an 11 and he's just super excited always for children and for Jesus. And
Amen.
what a light, and we get a picture with him every year.
Yes,
And
we do.
my wife was pregnant last year, and so because that was around August, and so we had our baby in December, so he gave us a onesie, a Saints onesie.
I
Yeah.
saw that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. So
great.
this year we'll be able to maybe put the baby in it and get a picture with him. Yeah, I'm
Um,
very much looking forward to him. He's
yeah,
what a blessing, and Sue is
yeah,
too. Sue's on our
yeah.
board, and
Great.
she has just been a staple in
Yeah,
our efforts.
yeah.
So we love her dearly.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And
Well,
because of Jen Relitz, I had my homegrown mulberries this morning. You know how,
nice.
I'm headed to Orlando to that convention. I love conventions, hearing these amazing speakers. So
Yeah,
making it happen here in South Florida is a blessing. So
that's good. We need more of that sharing in that community and that information and these speakers and these connections. We need more of that. That's not about money. And
yeah,
so I just
sure.
absolutely love everything that you've poured your heart into and your
Right.
event and the number of years that you have pushed this and been behind it and the swath of people or team of people, I should say, that
Absolutely.
are there, your Aarons and Joshuas that, hold up your arms as things move. You've got a wonderful group, and we're glad to come and visit and be a part of it and speak and share. And we thank you for hosting.
Oh, well, thank you for coming and thank you for this opportunity to share it with others. It's amazing.
You're very welcome. Absolutely. All right. I think we're at 1 o'clock. So we're going to go ahead and call it. Tracy says we appreciate all the work and heart behind it. Yep. Tracy from FPEA. Yeah, we
Thank you,
we do.
Tracy.
And a big shout out, or not a shout out. Let's just have a moment where we tell, Suzanne at FPEA that our heart is with her and her husband. He had a heart attack. And so we want to kind of have a prayer for him. Remember that their family. So if you're in their area, give them support, check in on them, show them some love. That's the beautiful thing about the homeschool community is community.
Yeah.
It's real. It's not about anything fake or just business. There's all of these people know each other.
Yeah.
No matter who I call,
I,
it's like, oh, I know so and so. Oh, this
yeah.
it's really tight knit, and I hope we keep it that way,
Yeah.
regardless of how quickly we're growing. That's so important. All right.
Amen.
Well,
Thank
any
you.
last words before we go?
Well, this is part of our Great Commission. You know,
Mm,
God has called us to share truth and have, dominion over the earth, which is every area.
yeah,
And the more we're involved in every area, the more his light will shine. So we are so blessed.
love it. Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're
Thank
gonna
you, Jane.
kick. You're very welcome. We're gonna kick over to our outward scene here. We're gonna say thank you to the parents in the free state of Florida for the support that you give to us. And we thank you to our top sponsors, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, TBHC Group, and Arete. And we thank you, Michelle, for being on with us today. We're so glad to have you. Without further ado, we hope that you're out there as home education families making memories that'll last. Man, you have all this time, and it's so beautiful. Don't waste a second of it. Go educate, go raise core values, set standards, hold their hands, kiss boo-boos, tell them to get up and rub some dirt on it. Whatever it is that you do as a home education family, you do your thing and make those memories and have a wonderful Monday.